So Dr. Altman, tell me, what excites you in the field of big data right now?
So I think one of the most exciting things is the ability to combine data at multiple levels. We have an amazing ability to collect molecular data, cellular data, even organism data from the electronic medical record, and population data about what's happening at the populational global scale. The beauty of informatics is we don't have to be tied to one of those levels, so we can look at, for example, I'm interested in drug interactions. We can look at a drug interaction in the electronic medical record, but we can also look at the molecular structure of those drugs to say, is there any clue about how and why they're interacting? And then we can look at population level data to say, is this interaction just happening in people of European descent, or are we also seeing it in African descent or Asian descent people? So this integrated analysis of data across many scales is kind of a privilege and very exciting.
And I'm sure it goes beyond just looking at drug interactions. What are some other possible applications of this?
Of course, the discovery of the genetic basis for disease. So we might see diseases in some populations, not others. We might look at individuals with those diseases and understand either the biochemical or other malfunctions of the genes that are causing the disease, and then we can dive all the way in and ask what are the molecular players or pathways that seem to be acting up in this disease to cause a dysregulated physiology compared to normal. And so this paradigm of taking a 360-degree, I don't know if it's 360 or I don't know what the right analogy is, but using all the relevant data sources. And then one of the data sources that I haven't mentioned that I'm very excited about is from the patients themselves. So you may not be surprised by this, but I was surprised that people tweet their drug responses. So I didn't expect that, but there are literally tens of thousands of tweets every day like, took my atenolol, had a bad day. Or even specific things like, took my atenolol, was unable to run because my heart rate was too low. And so it turns out that there's great, and Facebook, people do this on Facebook all the time. And so the possibility of getting patients data directly from patients to complement what we get from our professional sources, I find very intriguing.
And how do you go about doing that, collecting this information from the patients themselves?
Yeah, so it turns out that, here we are in Silicon Valley at Stanford, and Facebook is down the road, and they've talked to Stanford faculty about giving us what do they call it? The pipe. Getting the Facebook pipe coming into Stanford so that we could actually look for signals of interest, either for computer science research on social networks or for medical research. There's a big medical literature that, for example, there was a paper a couple of years ago that obese people have obese friends, and that they create a network, and that it kind of has a positive feedback loop in terms of causing, in a sense, your obese friends help cause you to be obese. So can we break these cycles? Can we understand what these dynamics are? And then can we make interventions to turn that into a health network instead of an unhealth network? Patient advocacy groups that have chats and support groups online are increasingly willing to let all of their proceedings, if you will, be downloaded and mined by people as long as they agree to be respectful of the patients and have good motives. So we're still playing around with the methods for getting the data, but the data is available, not to mention all of the stuff from your smartphone. Your smartphone has all of your motion information, where you've been, and so people are very interested in wondering if the smartphone data plus the social network data plus your electronic medical records give us a really unprecedented ability to assess the patient's health state in a very comprehensive way.
Right. It seems like it's a goldmine of information that we don't even think of when we contribute to it on a daily basis.
And that's the goal, because if it's a chore, no one's going to do it. But if you can have it built in, if people are satisfied that the security is acceptable, that if they're sharing their data, they know that they're sharing it and they're okay with the uses, if that can all be worked out, and I'm optimistic that it can, then the ideal would be to have this all happen in the background.
So shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk a little bit more about work that's going on in your lab.
Yes.
What sorts of projects are going on right now?
We're interested in adverse events of drugs in our lab, and one of the things that's very surprising is there is no resource that tells you which side effects are really bad and which ones are not so bad. So for example, we have a vocabulary of side effects like completed suicide. That's a pretty bad one. rash on hand. That's not such a bad one. We know that as humans and as doctors, but a computer program that's trying to analyze adverse events doesn't know that. So we said, how can we get a ranking of side effects from the worst to the best, or the most severe to the least severe? And it was kind of a hard problem. But then one of my talented postdocs in the lab said, why don't we crowdsource it? So he set up a thing where he asked people on the web using something called Mechanical Turk, which is on Amazon. It's a way to pay people micropayments for their effort. So he said, what's worse, rash, suicide, cancer, GI bleed? And literally hundreds of thousands of comparisons, which it took 3 hours to get. And then he designed an algorithm that would just rank order all the side effects. So then you look at that and you say, well, that's pretty good, but how do I know that that's robust and true? Well, spend another 3 hours, do it again with different people, see if it's the same result. We actually did it 3 times. We got a beautiful correlation. We think it's right, and so we're writing that up now, and we're going to make it publicly available so that you can take a set of side effects now and say, well, these ones are really bad, these ones not so bad, so maybe this drug is relatively safe, this drug is relatively unsafe.
Wow, that sounds great. A lot of exciting things are coming down in the Altman lab.
That's what we're hoping. That's the idea.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.